Our journey begins in Devalam, a small, ordinary village in the Sangameshwar district of Maharashtra, where Sri Jairam Bhatt lived with his wife and 4 sons. The third son, named Vitthal Pant Valame, displayed very early signs of detachment to the worldly pleasures and was ascetically inclined. He was a scholar, well versed in the ancient language of Sanskrit. Educated in the traditional system prevalent in his time, he dedicated his life to the study of the Vedas and the Upanishads. However, at the will of his father, Vitthal Pant was married at an early age, as was the tradition of the time. His wife, however, died shortly afterwards, which led Vitthala to renunciation and asceticism. He made his journey to Pandharpura to devote himself to the service of Lord Vithoba, and there he began his yogic practices. Shortly after his arrival in Pandharpura, a recurring dream appeared to him every night, where Lord Vithoba would instruct him to return to his village and seek out a maiden in the Monghe family of Pali village and marry her, because he wishes to be born into Vitthal Pant's family. The more Vitthala dismissed this dream, the more intense it got. He finally gave in and returned to his village and discussed this dream with his family. After a few inquiries, sure enough, there was a girl named Kashi in the Monghe family in Pali village who Vitthala then married. She was later renamed Rukmini in accordance with the tradition of the time. Rukmini was his most faithful follower. She, not unlike her husband, was beyond worldly riches and was a very wise woman, incredibly devoted and loyal. At the request of Sri Sakharam Sarpottar, the founder of the Vitthala temple in the city of Godhra in Gujarat, the couple relocated from Devalam so that Vitthal Pant could assume management duties of the temple. The couple's pious and righteous behavior instantly impressed everyone that visited the temple, and people grew very fond of them. As the days passed, Rukmini conceived, which brought joy to everyone at the temple. She was in her last month of pregnancy when a fire broke out in the neighborhood. Everyone rushed to put the fire out with buckets of water, because fire brigades were an unknown concept at the time. Rukmini, ignoring her own condition, began to help put out the fire. Her exemplary and selfless act impressed and inspired everyone. There in Godhra, the holy union of this pious and selfless couple gave us the physical embodiment of Dattatreya himself by the name of Pandurang Vitthal Pant Valame on 21st of November 1898, some 121 years ago, whom they lovingly called Babu. Of course, he is known to us today as Avadhoot, or as I like to call him, my colorful mystic. From an incredibly young age, Panduranga showed signs of super intelligence, and his inquisitive nature and the desire to understand things deeply knew no bounds. Panduranga began to speak at merely 1.5 years of age and began to grasp many deep concepts such as circle of life and death. Due to his sharp memory, he was fluent with Sanskrit and was able to memorize many devotional compositions such as Ram Raksha, Vishnu Sahasranam, Shiva Mahimna Stotra, Bhagavad Gita, and many more. His mastery and love for the Sanskrit language led him to write various hymns and poems in the language later in his life. In 1904, a great tragedy struck the city of Godhra. The plague. The plague had taken Vitthal Pant, leaving Panduranga and his younger brother Narayana under the care of Rukmini. Rukmini showed great courage in the face of such adversity and carried on instilling the wisdom of Vitthal Pant into both of her sons and remained in Godhra. Shortly afterwards, in celebration of the thread ceremony of both the boys, Rukmini took them to many sacred places in Maharashtra. One such place was Narsobawadi, where Narsimha Saraswati, the reincarnation of Dattatreya himself, is said to be ever present. Coincidentally, Vasudevanand Saraswati, a great sage considered by most as the reincarnation of Dattatreya, was also at Narsobawadi. Rukmini took both the boys to pay respects to this great sage. The moment the child laid eyes on him, he couldn't help but run towards him and fall at his feet. Avadhoot often talked about this incident as the moment he found his spiritual guide and master, marking the awakening and initiation into his spiritual journey. Vasudevanand Saraswati continued to teach and bless Panduranga through his dreams long after departing from his physical body in 1914. Panduranga was a devoted disciple and wholeheartedly followed the direction of his master. This cosmic connection also exists between Avadhoot and you, his disciple, and even today he continues to transmit his mystical knowledge directly to you. You simply need to sharpen your receptivity to his teachings, which we shall later explore in this series. Pandurang was known to have a sharp intellect, a sharper tongue, and most of all, he did not tolerate injustice on anyone. When Pandurang was in primary school, a bully threatened his friend Hari Prasad, who asked for an encounter at the riverbank where he would break his bones to pieces. This bully was the son of a wealthy and popular man. When Hari Prasad shared this with Panduranga, he became infuriated because he could never tolerate such oppression. He accompanied Hari Prasad to the riverbank with the closest thing he could find to a weapon, which was a wooden sword. The rich boy came along with many of his wealthy friends, but before they could make their move, they heard the fierce roar of Panduranga that said, "Come forward, I will destroy whoever is here to hurt my friend." This scared all the other boys away, except the leader of the bullies. He was impressed by Panduranga's prowess and felt that he would rather make such a courageous friend than to be in the company of cowardly boys who just happened to be wealthy. In 1917, Pandurang had appeared in a written exam which would lead into a one-on-one interview with the stern British headmaster of Gujarat College in Ahmedabad, Mr. Robertson. Pandurang was quite popular among his friends for being cheeky, who implored him to answer the questions appropriately without a tint of sarcasm and playful jokes. Pandurang was ushered into the interview room where he stood facing Mr. Robertson. He knew by Pandurang's appearance that he must be Brahmin, but still asked him, "What is with all this funny odd dress and appearance?" To which Pandurang replied, "Well, there's two ways to answer your question. One is simple and straightforward, and the other is by asking a counter question to you. Which one would you prefer?" Robertson soon realized that the student was quick-witted and replied, "As you please." Panduranga then said, "Sir, beauty is in the eye of the beholder. My dress may seem funny to you, but to me, the necktie you are wearing is equally odd." Robertson explained that it was a religious symbol, to which Panduranga said, "So are these threads and my shaven head and the mark on my forehead." Intrigued, Robertson then asked, "So do you cease to be a Hindu without these?" Panduranga said, "Do you cease to be a Christian without your necktie?" Robertson exclaimed, "No, in fact wearing it reminds me to be a good Christian," to which Panduranga explained that this is exactly the case with me. Robertson then said, "Well, it's still strange to just shave your head though," to which Pandurang replied, "Well, you see, India is a poor country where we have to spend 4 annas for a hairstyle, but it only costs 1 paise to get your head clean shaven. Besides, it keeps my head open to new ideas." Amused by this, Robertson said, "Oh, is that so?" To which Pandurang said, "Of course, in fact, try it for yourself, and then you may fail me if you don't find it so." Robertson was thoroughly impressed by the courageous manner of Pandurang and awarded him the first rank. Days leading up to his final exams, Pandurang fell ill and was advised by a sannyasi who predicted that his stars were unfavorable and that he was most definitely going to fail and that he should miss the exam to save face as he already had the excuse of ill health. Pandurang, however, was full of self-confidence and had worked hard for the exam and was certain that he may not get first class, but he was prepared enough for second class. He did not heed the advice of the astrologer and appeared for the exams. The results were shortly declared that he had indeed earned second class. Being the hard realist that he was, he jokingly taunted the astrologer that he may now tear his astrology book to pieces because he has passed. In the next videos, we will delve more into Avadhoot's spiritual journey and evolution into a higher being. If you've liked this video, please press like and subscribe to my channel. If you feel I've missed anything out, please leave a comment below. Thank you for listening, and until next time, Gurudev Dutt.